Welcome to the 2018 Governor's Arts and Humanities Awards. My name is Cameron Perez-Radia. I'm originally from Utqiagvik, and I'd like to say a special hello to my wife, Monica, and two daughters, Isabel and Mariela, over there. I'm the president and CEO of the Alaska Humanities Forum, and I'm pleased to be your host tonight as we honor 8 Alaskans who have enriched our lives through the arts and humanities. Please know that we are broadcasting on 360 North, so everybody on their best behavior tonight. Will you please stand and welcome Sarah Radke Brown of the Juneau Lyric Opera Executive Director, who will lead us in singing the Alaska Flag Song accompanied by John Hayes. Thank you. You may be seated. I would now like to invite Ernestine Hayes, Alaska State Writer Laureate, to the stage to invoke the blessing. Ernestine.
Gunalchish, thank you. Thank you to the Occoquan people upon whose land we stand, Gunalchish. Thank you to the Alaska State Council on the Arts, the Alaska Humanities Forum, and Alaska Arts and Culture Foundation for this opportunity to join in this meaningful celebration of arts, humanity, social justice, and community service in Alaska. Gunalchish. It is my honor to acknowledge the elders who are present. Thank you for your presence, Gunalchish. Gunalchish, Governor Walker, First Lady Donna Walker, Lieutenant Governor Byron Millott, Tony Millott, Gunalchish. Gunalchish to the artists, allies, and social justice warriors of Alaska. Gunalchish to our legislators and other public servants. Gunalchish for your service to our state. Congratulations to the honorees of tonight's ceremony. I am humbled to be able to share this event and this experience with you. I recognize my Gunalchish grandparents. I recognize my Kagwantan clanmates. I recognize my Yanhua sisters, Gunneth Chish. Nature exists for its own purpose, as does Raven, as do all forms of life. In our human relation with nature in all its forms, we recognize the metaphors that nature presents, and we acknowledge their applicability to the human experience, our shared human experience. We find ourselves in darkened times. We live in a darkening world. We ask ourselves and one another, to whom can we turn to seek the light we so urgently need? From where can we hope that light might come? By what means will that light arrive? We find ourselves in a darkened world bordered by walls that are not of our making. We examine those walls and recognize that their meaning does not emerge from a natural world, but they are artificial constructs created and designed to confound our own nature, created and designed to distract us from our natural accord, created and designed to uncouple us from the lessons, teachings, and metaphors that exist beyond those empty walls that seek to enclose us. We sometimes feel surrounded by that empty darkness, and we ask that light be brought to our darkened world. We remember that when Raven saw a darkened world, he was moved to bring us light. We remember and remind ourselves that many sources of light exist to give us hope. No matter what the sources of light might be that bring us comfort, no matter the reasons for the darkness that threatens to enclose us, no matter how far away the spark, nor how dim the flame, there are many sources of light on which we know we can rely. And of those sources, we are surrounded tonight by resolute, substantial, brilliant flames of the arts, humanities, social justice, community service, and the human caring we find in and receive from one another. We give each other light. We no longer stand together unmoving. Our intention in these darkened times is to advance. We no longer offer only comfort and reassurance. We also offer strength and power. We are no longer content to answer darkness with silence. We raise our voices so others who believe they are surrounded by darkness will know that they are not alone. We no longer ask ourselves, what shall we do with our darkened histories? We ask, what shall we do? What must we do? What will we do with a brightening world? We assemble, we march, we speak out, we resist. We are resisting the darkness, and we are walking forward into a world we are creating together. We gather, we acknowledge, we celebrate, we advance into a bright, illuminated world. Gunneth Chish.
Thank you, Ernestine, for your inspiring words. And now, I'd like to invite Governor Bill Walker to the stage for some welcoming remarks. Governor.
Good evening, and what a wonderful evening this is going to be. I enjoyed this last year and the year before, and it's something that we look forward to every year. This is the only way I would ever get on this stage, trust me, with my artistic abilities. But I do want to give a couple of examples of what the arts have done for family members in my family. Some years ago, my niece was 6 years old. She lived in Wasilla, and her dad was going to try out for a play at, I believe it was Alaska Pacific University. So he drove in, and as he left the house, he said, "Anna Kate, would you like to come with me?" She was 6 years old, and what 6-year-old wouldn't want to go for a ride with her dad? And so he went in to try out for the part. It was a pretty big issue, because if he got the part, he had to commute back and forth for the practice. So he tried out for the part. He didn't get the part. But the director saw Anna Kate sitting there and said, "Would you like to try out?" She got a part in the play. He still had to drive back and forth just so he wasn't in the play. Teresa Pond, could you stand up? You're the one that selected, you're the person that did that selected Anna Kate. But what you did is you pushed the start button for that young girl. She was probably in 3 or 4 dozen productions, of which we had, Miss Donna and I had the honor of watching her on stage, watch her develop and just blossom into that. She went on to college to get her degree in theater, and she's been teaching theater since then. You pushed that start button. Thank you very much. That's as close as I get to talent in that area, is it's having a family member that, but thank you very much, Teresa, for that. You never know what happened when you push that start button for someone, and at whatever age. And so she was very excited tonight about you being here, and she's in Fairbanks, but anyways, you really are a very special person to have done that in her life. The second thing I wanted to say about art in our family, and I'm surprised to not see this person get an award. The most beautiful artwork I have is from my granddaughter. She's when Mara comes down, she brings me something whenever she comes, and this artwork is all about all the things, all the fish, different fish, the salmon and the halibut and whatnot. And this is as close as I get to fishing now in this job that I've got. Is I just pull this out and I look at there's a pink salmon, there's a coho, and so. But you know what? What art does is it takes you on a journey. When I see this, I think of my granddaughter. When I see a painting that's very special, it takes you someplace without an airline ticket or without travel. It'll take you there by just looking at it, by just seeing it, by just being part of it. So the arts is so incredibly important, and at a time where we are right now as a state, it's so incredibly important that we have the arts, that we have what you do, what you provide across the state. Every single day on the productions that are put on, it's a gift that keeps giving. So it's such an honor for me to be a very small part of this, to be able to hand out awards and to people that are so talented and always are giving back and making Alaska a better place as a result of what you do. So I just couldn't be more honored to be the governor of this great state and be a small part of this incredible evening tonight when we celebrate and give out award to people that are so incredibly deserving for what they have given to others. How many start buttons have been pushed in this room? I have no idea, but I bet there's thousands that people have started off on a journey because someone picked them for something, even when they weren't trying out. So thank you very much for an opportunity to say a few words, and what a great evening we're going to have. This is just really a very special time here in Juneau. So thank you, and God bless Alaska.
Thank you, Governor Walker. We're so appreciative of your support and recognition of the valuable role that the arts and humanities play in connecting people, enriching lives, and strengthening communities across our state. And now, I'd like to welcome to the stage 2 very important people. First, Liz Carvalho, Chair of the Alaska Humanities Forum Board of Directors, And then following Liz will be Benjamin Brown, Chair of the Alaska State Council on the Arts. Liz?
Pagalipsi, welcome to you all. Koyanak, Governor and First Lady Walker, for hosting all of us here tonight and for honoring these awardees. Ataga Kolok, Nalak mi Chisiga, Elizabeth Carvalho. Kikik Dagruk mi Nirunga, Akaga Iriktak, Apaga Igak, Anaka Aporak. My namesake is Kolok, or Mary Goodwin. My English name is Elizabeth Carvalho, but the only person who calls me Elizabeth is my mom. You can call me Liz. I'm from Kikik Tagruk, or what is known as Kotzebue. My parents are Ijritak and Igak, Nellie Moore and Greg Moore. My grandmother was the late Aporik, or Ada Ward. My husband and son are Anthony and Alika Carvalho. I have the privilege of welcoming you here to the 2018 Governor's Awards of the Arts and Humanities on behalf of the Alaska Humanities Forum Board of Directors. How many of you are familiar with the Alaska Humanities Forum? Raise your hand. Awesome, great. So if you will indulge me for a quick minute, I'd like you to turn to a person near you that you don't know and introduce yourself and give that person the reason what brought you here tonight. Okay. I know this is a lively audience, and I asked you to do that. Wonderful. Okay. So continuing on, I'll come back to this in just a moment. And you guys can talk a little bit more a little later. So lately, there's a word that has been very alive for me. To me, this word captures the importance of the work each of the Arts and Humanities awardees tonight that brought them here tonight. That word is Inuneelishput. This is an Inupiaq word that has layers of meaning, like many of the words in our language. Essentially, as individuals, we make up our community, the community we live in together, whether we participate intentionally or not. And the only way for a community to be well is for an individual to be well. And the only way for an individual to truly be well is for the community to be well. For what I understand, our elders translated our illiquisate, or what we call our values, to ensure that we Inupiaq know what it means to be well and how to be well. Hopefully you just met some new people in the room. Consider what brought you here and what brought them here. Your presence and contribution in whatever form makes this community in this room. It also makes up the state of Alaska. We each have the ability to consider how to be well and how to make our communities well. At the Forum, we connect Alaskans through stories, ideas, and experiences that positively change lives and empower communities. We host programs including Leadership Anchorage and Take Wing Alaska. We fund incredible projects with the National Endowment for the Humanities funding, such as one you will hear a little more about tonight. And we engage directly in community dialogue on tough things to provide a forum on important conversations, such as women in the military. Inuneelishput. However, we are not alone in doing the work like this. Tonight's awardees embody the idea of Inuneelishput. Whether it's shining a light on an important piece of little-known history and the contributions of African Americans to Alaska, or the amazing work of the Siri Foundation under the leadership of a woman who is a steward and champion of education and cultural learning. Or giving space for Alaskans to share stories that can link us together across great distances, or leaning into cultural difference and using the humanities to bridge cultures across a lifetime. They are the individuals and communities who are doing the work of Untitled Chapter, connecting people and strengthening communities. Koinakbuk to each of you for being here tonight to honor and celebrate the awardees and their contributions to a stronger Alaska. I hope you come away inspired, as I am, by these amazing awardees, and consider the idea of Untitled and how you contribute to it every day to yourself, to your family, and your community. Ana kalotak, and enjoy your evening. Koinakbuk.
Words of wisdom, it will be difficult to follow. Thank you very much, Liz, for saying those wonderful things and welcoming us in that way. I am Ben Brown, and I am the chairman of the Alaska State Council on the Arts. I was born in Anchorage and went to high school in Palmer, and I'm very happy to live in Juneau, in the capital city now, where I have for, gosh, it's been 17 years. The time flies by so quickly because we have such a great quality of life here with the rich arts and cultural fabric that we just are surrounded by every moment. So ASCA, the Alaska State Council on the Arts, is the state arts agency for the great state of Alaska, and we're partners with the National Endowment for the Arts. Our mission is to represent, support, and advance the creative endeavors of individuals, organizations, and agencies all throughout the Great Land. We have some wonderful staff here tonight: Andrea Noble-Palant, Saunders McNeil, and Karen Lowell, who, without whose presence, this event, I assure you, would not be happening. And we are governed by an 11-member board of trustees appointed by the governor. And my fellow trustees here tonight are Pat Race from here in Juneau, Jeff Silverman from Anchorage, Mary Wegner from Sitka, and Cordelia. And Cordelia, I never know if you're in Fairbanks or in Wasilla or in Barrow. She's a citizen of all corners of our great state. So they are truly wonderful partners on the board of trustees of the State Council on the Arts with whom I get to work. Partnerships are very important to what we do. So I mentioned the National Endowment for the Arts, which I can tell you, despite some of the rumors of its demise, is actually doing quite well in Washington, D.C., but we keep our eye on that all the time, and we're very grateful for the support of Senators Murkowski and Sullivan and Congressman Young, because without their support, that is something we certainly cannot take for granted for even a moment. Other partners that are incredibly important to us are, of course, our foundation friends: the Rasmussen Foundation, the Atwood Foundation, the Siri Foundation, Sea Alaska Heritage Institute. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, for whom, in the interest of full disclosure, I'm employed as marketing development specialist, and who run this wonderful facility called the Juneau Arts and Culture Center. And is just a perfect example of a very vibrant local arts agency in the cultural fabric of Alaska. Speaking of partners and talent, I want to mention Bob Cohen and Alexi Painter, who provided the wonderful music earlier tonight. So a quick round of applause for them. Never take your musicians for granted. So we at the council have a number of programs. I'm not going to try to list them all because it's really too much, but we are very proud of our work in arts education. We're investing more and more in schools and school districts and the teachers that are creating the Alaskans who will make the world as rich and vital as possible tomorrow. We also have a robust grant program to arts organizations and to individual artists, and we're happy and grateful for the funding that allows us to continue to do that. We support creative industries. We have a contemporary art bank program, public art program, and one of the things I'm most excited about is Creative Forces, which is an initiative that was which is spearheaded by the National Endowment for the Arts in conjunction with the Federal Department of Defense at 2 military hospitals on the East Coast. But JBER has been selected as an expansion site, and we'll be having a summit in a couple of weeks to celebrate the potential that the arts have to help servicemen and women who return from theaters of war around the world with traumatic brain injuries and post-traumatic stress disorder, and really help treat them to be as well as they can be in a clinical environment, and then return to their communities with their care providers and their families, and to make the whole community whole again. So stay tuned for more information about that, because Creative Forces is an amazing program, and it's really, I think, one of the best things we're working on right now. So again, I promise not to go on too long. That wasn't too much, was it, Andrea? So I want to recognize, of course, distinguished guests we have here tonight. Of course, we've got the Governor and First Lady, Mrs. Walker, Lieutenant Governor Malad, and Tony. Thank you so very much for being here, for your continued support for the arts in Alaska. We have some elected officials. from another branch of government. Because without the legislature, as the governor knows, you've got to come together to get these things done. So Senator Natasha von Imhoff and Senator Tom Begich, Senator David Wilson, and Senator Berta Gardner are here. Representatives Harriet Drummond, Ivy Sponholz, Justin Parrish, I see Garen Tarr, and Colleen Sullivan-Leonard are here. If I've missed anyone, Jonathan Christ-Tompkins is here too. And Jonathan, if you could make your way up to the stage now, I've got something to give you. And Gary Stevens. Yes, Gary, you are here. Good. I'm very glad to see you. Thank you, Diane. And as if by magic, the segue, I wanted to also recognize some of our most important leaders of the foundation partners. My good friend Diane Kaplan from the Rasmussen Foundation. Rosita Worrell from Sea Alaska Heritage Institute. I believe, of course, Susan is here from the Surrey Foundation, being honored. And I haven't seen Rick Caulfield from the University of Alaska Southeast, but we, of course, very much value the university as a partner in what we do as well. So a round of applause for those friends. So really quickly, before JKT, Representative Christ-Tompkins, comes up, we have a couple other partners that make this evening possible. The Alaska Arts and Culture Foundation is a nonprofit which exists to support the State Council on the Arts. And it is chaired by Kes Woodward, who's our vice chairman of the State Council Board of Trustees, and has a number of wonderful people on it, including Linda Bootcheever, who couldn't be with us tonight. But one of the programs AACF administers is the Connie Bootcheever Fellowship Program and the Alaska Literary Awards, which are smaller awards than these Governor Awards, but they're very important to reward the highest level of artistic activity. So we're grateful for that. And I don't know if Christina Mee Erickson could be here, but she is a Bootcheever Fellow recently awarded in Juneau. So she's with us in spirit, and she's a fine young woman, and she's very talented, and she's working on some great new projects. So now, Representative Christ-Tompkins, please join me here on the stage. A couple years ago, we had thought about having a license plate program, and Representative Christ-Tompkins introduced a bill to get that made into reality. We were fearful that it was going to happen. He used some brilliant legerdemain, sleight of hand, political, legislative acumen, and today it's a reality. The bill passed. We went from the conceptual art plate to the first Alaska Arts license plate sample, which I give to you now, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Ben. This is definitely going on my wall. As some people know, legislators get surplus metallic plates from the DMV, so this will be a nice addition to the collection. And I wanted to add a couple of notes why I feel this plate is so exciting and hopefully will be omnipresent in Alaska very soon. And I believe our current Commissioner of Revenue, or former Commissioner of Administration, once noted that if the DMV is very well run, it's kind of a metaphor for all of government, and it shows that government can work, and it can work for the people. And I like to think if the DMV can be well run, and the government can run the DMV well, if the government can do license plates wonderfully and creatively and infuse joy and beauty into everyday life, well, what else is possible for government? What else is possible? House and Senate might be able to agree. There's all sorts of untold possibilities. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that there's no reason that art and beauty shouldn't be infused into our lives in subtle, everyday kinds of ways. And gosh darn it, if bookended on every motor vehicle wheeling around Alaska, there shouldn't be screwdrivered onto it a metallic canvas infusing and projecting into the world the same aesthetic beauty, such as this, in its own way, as you might find in the State Museum or the Governor's Mansion or the Anchorage Museum, a Byron Birdsall print or an Alvin Amison print. And it's I think, an ideal to aspire to, and I hope in some small way this helps make that happen. And the last reason I'm really excited and very grateful to Ben and to Andrea and to Pat Race on the State Council of the Arts and Kes Woodward, who sadly isn't here this evening, is that it's a great example of legislative executive branch harmony, which I think we all know we could use a little bit more of, as much as possible, really. And Andrea is so kind to tolerate the rapscallion of a legislative office that we are. She's sharing, she's kind enough to even share her February 7th birthday with me. I'm very grateful for that. And we're able to do good things and to bring this to reality. So for all three of those reasons, I'm very excited about this plate, and hopefully we'll see it all around Alaska. And like any fun project, but wait, there's more. And I should just note, I won't say too much, but if you call into the state of Alaska, any agency, any legislative office, and you get put on hold, you will encounter the most campy, maddening hold music that your drums will go into open revolt. And it is highly unfortunate that that is the case. And if you want to experience this, go ahead and call my legislative office tomorrow, and we will kindly put you on hold so you can have this experience. But in the coming months, something is afoot, something will change, and very much in the spirit of this license plate, there will be more positive changes happening to our everyday life, bringing music and hopefully subtle beauty, and ASCA, one of the many things they do, is going to be responsible for it. So that's all I'll say, but thank you so much for this first sample, which will go on my wall.
I didn't know we were supposed to mention that, so he's the one who did it if it was still a secret. Which actually segues to my last point. The Juneau Arts and Humanities Council will have a role to play in whatever secret project Jonathan's speaking of, not that I know anything about it. As I disclosed previously, I do work here as the Marketing and Development Specialist. One of the biggest projects we have before us as a local agency right now is building a new JAC. This is a lovely building. It was built as a National Guard armory, and it's served this community and this state well for a long, long time. As you can tell looking around you, it's a building that's been loved almost to death. So very briefly, we're in the process of a campaign to build a new JAC. We want to break ground in March of next year and have the place open by the end of summer of 2020. There's a table in the lobby where you can learn a little more about that, but we are extremely serious about it, and we're not asking you for money right now, but we are asking for you to learn more about the project and the important service it will help offer the people of Juneau and all of Alaska as Alaska's capital city. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you, Ernestine, for your wonderful blessing and invocation. I think it's going to be a wonderful evening. We've got some of the most wonderful and deserving awardees. So God bless Alaska, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. A few more recognitions. I'd like to, in your program is a list of our sponsors. We have many, many great sponsors tonight, and you've already heard some of them, but want to make sure to thank the Office of the Governor for your sponsorship tonight. Also ConocoPhillips and the Rasmussen Foundation, See Alaska, and a number of other very important sponsors that are in your program. Please take a moment to look through them. We appreciate your support for this important event. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague and partner. You've heard her name already in this evening. Andrea, the Executive Director of the Alaska State Council on the Arts. She will introduce this evening's Arts Awards. Andrea.
Thank you and good evening. It's my pleasure tonight to focus on the awardees. And I'm pleased to introduce our 4 Governor's Arts awardees. As we honor and recognize all of the awardees this evening, please note that you will find a description of their work and accomplishments in your program. This information, as well as a list of past awardees, is also available online at akgovawards.org. A little bit about the awards themselves. Each year, the Alaska State Council on the Arts commissions an accomplished Alaska artist to create the awards. This year we selected 2 artists, Amy Meisner and Maria Schell, both from Anchorage. Amy Meisner is a nationally recognized textile artist. She is featured in this month's Fiber Arts magazine, and she has an upcoming solo exhibit at the Anchorage Museum of History and Art in May and the Alaska State Museum in 2019. Maria Schell calls herself an Alaska maker. She is a contemporary textile artist who leads workshops across the country and has recently published a book titled Improv Quilting. Both artists have created blogs about their creative process, and Maria's blog explains how she created the awards for tonight's ceremony. And it's very interesting. It's a different method of working on quilting than we have ever seen. And now for the awardees. Governor Walker, would you please join us on stage? Thank you. Our first award is the Margaret Nick Cook Award for Alaska Native Arts, given to Charlie Skolka. The Margaret Nick Cook Award honors and recognizes individuals and organizations whose work furthers traditional Alaska Native language and culture. Margaret Nick Cook was born in 1944 in Nunapachuk, near Bethel. She was a steadfast advocate of Alaska Native people and culture. She was deeply dedicated to her Alaska Native traditions. Alaska Native arts and the perpetuation of her language were important to her. In 1996, Margaret's family established a memorial fund and an award in her memory. Charlie embodies the spirit of this award because he is a highly respected culture bearer who selflessly advances, preserves, and perpetuates traditional Alaska Native arts, language, and culture. In Sitka, Charlie teaches students of all ages through traditional Haida knowledge, including the arts and ways of being. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Charlie Skolka.
Gosh, this really is happening. Hi, Mom. You know, I never saw this coming. I'd been called a lot of things in my life, and an artist was just one of them. Quite a few years ago, I was approached by Miss Nancy Douglas to start helping sharing some knowledge and things that we do as natives. And thanks to her and Miss Mary Wagner, I'm here today. And it's very humbling and quite an honor to be up here. I always stress to my students how important it is that you push yourselves and step outside your comfort zone. And guys, I'm definitely there. But, yes, it's been an amazing journey, and 20 years ago, I had never imagined that I'd be up here accepting a governor's award for teaching. It's just amazing. And the people that I've met here just tonight, it's been very cool. I've got to already establish quite a few bridges and meet some people that can help me take this further. I'd like to give a special shout out to my son, Justin Skolka, up in Wasilla. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but very proud of what he's doing up there, and hope to see him soon. Say hi, Dad. And gosh, I hadn't written a speech. I was going to just wing it. And then I listened to some other people during rehearsals, and boy, they had some amazing speeches, and I thought, gosh, I should sit down and do that, and no, it never happened. And somebody told me, you know, when you're up on stage and you start freaking out, and just imagine that everybody's not wearing clothes, and that doesn't help. But yeah, it didn't help at all. I thought it was going to, but no. And, but it wasn't just everything that I do that got me up here tonight. I've got an amazing staff that I work with, and a lot of people that support me. And See Alaska is one of them. I work a lot with the Sitka tribe. This is the Sitka School District. And through the years, I've got to meet, through our basic art institutes that we do in Sitka, I've got to meet a lot of other artists that have inspired me. And I've got some great people that help me too. When I start running out of things to do, Miss Nancy and Miss Mary always find something to add to the plate. And yeah, it's just amazing. I'm still just blown away that somebody was paying attention to what we were doing. And I can't thank you guys enough.
Our next award is the Arts Business Leadership Award, given to Delbert Cederberg. He's the owner of Allied Steel in Anchorage. This award is for generosity and support of creativity, which translates into a better existence for all of us. Delbert's business is appropriately named. He is a true ally of the arts. When he's not helping artists produce large-scale public artwork, he's engaged in building community. For years, Delbert halted his shop's work production for the Girl Scouts to provide a distribution center to store and sort cookies. He does the same thing for the National Association for Women in Construction's annual garage sale during high construction season. Please join me in congratulating Delbert Cederberg. Would you please join us on stage, Delbert?
Well, if you guys haven't read the book here, I came to Alaska in '63 and couldn't get out, so my life was spent here. I told I had 2 minutes, and it's too bad the legislature wouldn't have a time frame like that, but I guess I'm limited to it. I have a sheet of paper and I got a dozen more here, so you'll have to tolerate me. Governor Walker, honored guests, fellow award recipients, and family and friends. I feel very honored to be selected. I would like to express my gratitude for this recognition. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Let me blow my nose.
So what my father's trying to say from the heart is he wanted to tell a few stories. And the first one was about a friend and artists, Barbara and Andy. And Barbara and Andy came to him to build a corkscrew design called Precision, and it stands in front of the Public Health Lab. And it was a very complicated design, and it wasn't your traditional construction methods, and it was out of stainless steel, I believe. And Delbert's like, I don't know, that's a tough one. And Barbara said, think about it. I'm sure you can find a solution to make my dream come true. And eventually, he went to sleep, where he does his best thinking, and in the morning, he had it, solution designed. His second example is for a dear friend who passed away, I believe it was a year ago, Jerry Conway. Okay.
Yeah, he was quite a fella. The sculpture stands at the Federal Building in Fairbanks. The federal contractor required that the model be submitted for financial approval in Washington, D.C. The proposal was made to ensure that the artist knew what he was doing and would have no trouble understanding how he did the sculpture. In the process, I encouraged him to learn to TIG well, and when asked, he was able to say he had not built the sculpture, but he had welded on it. When his model was presented, it is only one of 5 sculptures to be approved on the spot. Today, the model is on permanent display at the Smithsonian Institute. The sculpture still stands at the Federal Building where it was first installed, but with a slight addition, a bullet hole in it. Thank you, Governor Walker, for this award. I do appreciate it and am privileged to receive it. Thank you.
The next award is the Individual Artist Award, given to Alvin Amison. This award is for a prolific career and artistic leadership, iconic and important work, and impact in the arts in Alaska. In the words of acclaimed artist Perry Eaton, Alvin's choice of subjects and his mastery of the use of color and perspective has created a distinctive style that is immediately recognized and associated with Alvin's work. Alvin's philosophy of teaching encompasses a program inclusive of elders, visiting artists, technology, oral tradition, and spirituality. In the words of De Kamener, artist and associate professor of Native Arts, University of Alaska, Fairbanks, Alvin was a pioneer in the contemporary Alaska Native movement. His artwork paved the way for today's generation of contemporary Native artists with his bold, vibrant paintings. Please join me in congratulating Alvin Amison.
This is my daughter, Naomi. To my governor and Mrs. Walker and David, Mr. and Mrs. Mom, for this wonderful evening. It's a blessing to be in Tlingit country. And it's so beautiful here. I see everyone from Juneau who's locals wearing extra tough, so it makes me feel right at home. I'd like to give a hello to my family in Old Harbor, Anchorage, and Mom in Kodiak. She'll have her 90th this spring. My wife, Alana, and son, Eli, had to go to Seattle for a medical situation, but my son, Eli, said, "Dad, please say hello to the governor for me." So, hello from Eli. I have been fortunate to have been raised by my elders and have relatives that I am fond of and respect. To observe, to be shown, and taught where the clams are, where the rocks are, the eggs, have given me life skills. Haven't given me so I can navigate little things like how to navigate when the fog comes down and by the direction of the swells, things that get you and your loved ones back home. So this has really helped me. This land and its waters, and I've been fortunate as a commercial fisherman and artist to have traveled a lot of the state. I've been on a lot of the waters, some more than I would like to remember. But it's given me a lifetime of inspiration. It's made me such a rich person. I will never run out of ideas, just ways to do them better. One thing I found out about working in art for so many years is that just when you think you've got it licked, it bites you. And you just got to keep going back into it. I also have had a great job in education. I directed the Alaska Native Arts Center in Fairbanks for 17 years and left while things were running well. And then was retired for one semester until a friend Elmer tracked me down. But anyway, I've had students from Point Hope to Metlakatla, from Japan to Norway. I've got students now from New York City. And what I try to impress with the young people I'm getting is that with their own experiences and technology and traditions, I first try to impress upon them that these experiences are theirs. They're unique. They own them. They're just as valid and important as anything they'll find in a library. So we try to emphasize that. And I have students say, well, I'm going to get credit for what my grandfather taught me. Yes, you are. You know, it's they investigated. There's no wrong way to investigate these things, to make art out of this or yourself. I'm very grateful about this great land and its waters, my relatives. We have a few loose screws in the family, but we all do. I still love them, you know. And where I'm from, Kodiak, loose screw means your prop's going to fall off soon. I would like to give a 1 minute back to you tonight. It's oral tradition. I own it. It's going to be yours. But it's a short story about me when I was young in Kodiak. And I guess I'm going to say 11, about 5th grade. The old school in Kodiak was a big square wooden building, and it had a hallway running right smack down the center. This was the same building that my mom and her sisters went through grade school and graduated from high school in. One day I was out in the playground and the church bell started ringing. I think this was maybe the Baptist church up the hill. And then pretty soon the Russian church bell started going off, and I thought, well, this is different. And so they were going, and then some major boats started blasting their horns. And a bunch of us kids were this is kind of cool. And then I believe it was Kodiak Airways put a couple of Grumman gooses in the air, and they started circling the town. I think a couple other planes joined them. And we were little, young people, but we found out later that, this was 1959, and this is the day that Alaska became the 49th state. So I just wanted to share that because I started thinking about, I'm going to the Capitol, I'm going to Juneau, states and things like that. And I was remembering things like, the Alaska flag song, I have the original 45 in the original sleeve. You can date me with that. And I still play vinyl, so I think I might leave that with the museum. So thank you so much for this honor. And to be acknowledged by a place that you care about so much is really great. Thank you so much.
Next, we are honored to present a Lifetime Achievement in the Arts Award to celebrate the work and legacy of a very influential and beloved Alaskan, Robert Pond.
An original quote from the Book of Pond.
From the Book of Pond.
From the Book of Pond.
Education and reason rescues us from fear.
Rehearsals create the routines that result in spontaneity.
The difference between acting and performing is that there are no incidentals in great acting. Great acting is listening between the lines.
Silent dialogue prevents an actor from becoming an audience on stage.
The only truth is the experience that is life.
He was a gentle, soft-spoken man. You would just think he was the softest, sweetest man until you get to know him a little bit.
He could be delightful. He could be charming. He could be brash. He could get angry.
You know, he looks me straight in the face and said, well, just read the damn script.
He was shy. A lot of people didn't know that about him.
Under that gentle Pacific surface was a fury, a rage, and an intensity and excitement.
He was an oracle of knowledge.
He was always edgy and a little bit dangerous.
He'd get very excited and kind of rub his hands together, and he would get this wonderful look on his face.
And at that point, his intellect would be pouring out, and he would come out with brilliant, intense ideas.
He was incredibly passionate. He was incredibly kind. He cared deeply for other people, and he cared really deeply for theater.
Really looked out for the best interests of not only the community, but all of the people that worked with him.
He considered intellectualism a sport.
Curiosity was a part of who Bob was.
One's mind would be racing, whether one agreed with him or not. You got engaged intellectually with Bob.
Oh my, he did demand perfection.
He had a standard of excellence.
He challenged himself. He was hard on himself.
He was a wonderful man to talk to because he had a very unusual aesthetic, and he was very articulate when he talked about art.
Bob Pond could make a good actress great.
Knowing him personally was just really knowing someone who was a mentor and a teacher.
He believed in theater.
It was in his blood, you know, it was in his spirit.
Many people you'll speak of in Alaska, their theater life was begun by Bob Pond.
A lot of people I know have told me that he gave them their first shot.
He's just really had an impact on a lot of lives.
My father really understood what the word community means.
He loved community theater, young people and new people and anybody.
You need to value the mission over your own individual accomplishments, and he did it for most of his life.
His contribution to the arts in Alaska was tremendous. He directed more plays than anybody I ever heard of. I used to joke that he directed more plays than God, and he would laugh and not say no.
So it was always a marvelous puzzle, I think, to him.
He gathered people to him.
Theater wouldn't be what it is without Bob Pond.
Well, I don't think we would have community theater in Alaska if it wasn't for Bob.
There wouldn't be any ACT to talk about if it wasn't for him.
His influence is all over the state.
He was a gift. His work was a real gift to the community.
He was such a seminal figure.
My dad loved the theater, and he loved people getting a chance to fall in love with the theater.
His legacy, it will never die. Bob will be with us, you know, forever.
Robert's daughter, Teresa Pond, is here this evening to accept the award on his behalf. Teresa is a performer, a director, and producing artistic director of Cyrano's Theater in Anchorage. She has directed professionally off-Broadway, across the country, regionally, and internationally. Born and raised in the Anchorage theater scene, her first show was at Grant Hall Theater when she was 10 weeks old. Please welcome Teresa Pon to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Governor Walker, honored guests, Alaska Humanities Forum, the State Council on the Arts. This is a true honor. My dad would love this. I think Dad embodies why Alaska is the very best place to pursue your dreams. He came a long way from the streets of Newton, Massachusetts, with a truck driver father and a factory working mother. He often said he didn't quite know how he showed up in that family. No one ever left that neighborhood, and he got all the way here, 1957. Dad dedicated his life to what is the true meaning of community. He used to say at Anchorage Community Theater that it was important in the shows that he do what he called need-based casting. He said someone will come along in auditions and they need this. You know, they might have never done this before. They might not be about to play the lead role, but they had a need for this. There was a young woman I remember that was incredibly shy, like to a severe case. She couldn't hold down a job. She couldn't really leave the house, lived with her mom. But somehow she got the courage to come in and volunteer in the office during the day when no one was around, a couple hours a week. And Dad slowly, gently coaxed her over many weeks, a couple months, I think, and got her to join the cast of a big musical. She could stand in the back, and then nobody would see her, but she was on the stage. And that meant the world to her. I mean, she never ever forgot that. He would do these big musicals, and he'd put so many people in them that he'd forget. He didn't know how many people were in the show. Costumer loved that. He didn't want a single kid to not have a chance to get on stage and experience what theater could do for them. I remember rehearsing my neighborhood friends. Shockingly enough, yes, I was directing shows at a young age. And we had rehearsal, and we had a rehearsal schedule. So the next day, when they didn't show up for rehearsal, and I sat there in the backyard all despondent, and Dad had taken the sandbox. He'd flipped it over to make a stage and tied a curtain between two trees for me so I could have the whole, And he sat down and he gently put his arm around me and said, "Teresa, some people just don't understand what professionalism is in the theater." I was 8. He did theater for the greater good. He never stopped contributing to the arts. After he retired from Anchorage Community Theater, he started writing. He wrote reviews through all over town in Anchorage. He'd go to all the different events, and people used to know he was there by the click of his pen, They'd quake in their boots. He loved writing. He would write. He wrote a history of Anchorage Theater and his history with it. He even took his hand at a screenplay once, wrote an FBI drama. He made it up, with the star being a very strong, smart woman, because he loved strong, smart women. With his friends Dick Reichman, Bruce and Audrey Kelly, who are with us tonight, he directed plays that he'd always wanted to. He no longer had to worry about the bottom line ticket sale. And he just did them for the pure love and the pure art of it. And that was with RKP Productions. And he was working on the prep work for his next play to direct when he passed away last summer. He worked really hard for the life that he wanted. And his family, we were there for him every step. My mother, Roberta Pond, loved attending the theater, which was good because she said she used to go to his plays so that she could see her furniture that always ended up on the stage. My younger brother, Sean Michael, tried to play as a kid once, and Dad asked him, "Well, what'd you think of that?" And he said, "I don't like all those people looking at me." But whereas I clearly did, and so I am very proud to be running Sierra Notes Theater today and continuing to freelance direct and work with all sorts of wonderful artists. And we are all very proud. Sean Michael and I, we miss Dad every day, and I'm really, really pleased that he's receiving this honor. As I said, he would love this. Dad always liked to fuss on his birthday. Today is his birthday, so I think it's only fitting that a day he would have turned 81 that we get to celebrate in this way. So thank you, all of you, and happy birthday, Dad.
Well, congratulations to all of this year's awardees in the arts. And now we have a special treat for all of you. I'd like to introduce the Juneau Lyric Opera and students from Juneau Douglas High School who will perform an excerpt of the prologue from Into the Woods, an upcoming production they are staging together this month. Enjoy.
Once upon a time, in a far-off kingdom, lived a young maiden, a sad young lad, and a childless baker.
I wish
with his wife.
More than the moon.
I wish he's giving a festival.
More than life.
I wish to go to the festival.
More than riches.
I wish my cow would give us some milk. More than anything.
I wish we had a child.
I want a child. I wish to go to the festival.
I wish we might have a child. I wish.
You wish to go to the festival?
The poor girl's mother had died.
You Cinderella, the festival.
You Cinderella, the festival, the festival, the festival, the King's festival.
And her father had taken for his new wife
The festival.
a woman with 2 daughters of her own.
Look at your nails, look at your dress.
People would laugh at you.
Nevertheless, I still wish to go to the festival and dance before the prince.
All 3 were beautiful of face, but vile and black of heart. Jack, on the other hand, he had no father, and his mother, well,
I wish.
she was not quite beautiful.
I wish my son were not a fool. I wish the house was not a mess. I wish the cow was full of milk. I wish the walls were full of gold. I wish a lot of things. You foolish child, what in heaven's name are you doing with a cow inside the house?
A warm environment might be just what Milky White needs to produce his milk.
It's a she. How many times must I tell you only she's can give milk?
Why come in, little girl?
I wish.
It's not for me, it's for my granny in the woods.
A loaf of bread, please, to bring my poor old hungry granny in the woods. Just a loaf of bread, please.
Cinderella's stepmother had a surprise for her.
I have emptied a pot of lentils into the ashes for you. If you have picked them out in 2 hours' time, you shall go to the ball with us.
And perhaps a sticky bun or and a few of those pies, please.
No squeeze.
Listen, son, Milky White must be taken to market.
Mother, no. He's the best cow.
She has been dry for a week, with no food and no money and no choice but to sell her while she can still command a price.
But Milky White is my best friend in the whole world.
Look at her! There are bugs on her dugs. There are flies in her eyes. There's a lump on her rump, big enough to be a hump.
But
son, we've no time to sit and dither, while her withers wither with her. And no one keeps a cow for a friend. Sometimes I fear you're touched.
The woods, it's time to go. I have to live, I have to go. The woods, it's time, and so I must begin. the woods and down the dell. The path is straight, I know it well. Into the woods, and who can tell what's waiting on the journey? Into the woods to bring some bread to Granny, who is sick in bed. Never can tell what lies ahead. For all that I know, she's already dead. But into the woods, into the woods, into the woods, to grandmother's house and home before dark. Back to the skies, back to the eaves and the leaves and the fields and the gray up into my hair. Cinderella, are you really wearing that? You write down the little tears. Cinderella, can't you hide it with the hat? You look beautiful. I know. She means me. Put it in a twist. We'll be there. Father said be good. Father said be nice. That was always their advice. So be nice. Cinderella, good. Cinderella, nice. Good, good, nice. Higher. What's the good of being good? Everyone is blind and you're always left behind. Never mind. Cinderella, kind. Cinderella, nice. Good, nice. Kind, good, nice. Ah! Not that tight! Claude! Huh?
Because the baker's mother and father had died in a baking accident, well, at least that's what he believed, he was eager to start a family of his own and was concerned that all efforts until now had failed.
There it is. Now, who might that be?
We have sold our last loaf of bread.
It's the witch from next door. We have no bread.
Of course you have no bread.
What do you wish?
It's not what I wish. It's what you wish. Nothing cooking in there now, is there?
The witch went on to explain to the couple that she had placed a spell on their house.
What spell?
Long ago, when you were a mere babe, your father brought his young wife and you to this cottage. They were a handsome couple, but not handsome neighbors. You see, your mother was with child, and she had developed an unusual appetite. She took one look at my beautiful garden and told your father that what she wanted more than anything in the world was greens, greens, and nothing but greens. Parsley, peppers, cabbages, and celery, asparagus, and watercress, and fiddlefins, and lettuce. He said, all right, but it wasn't quite, because I caught him in the autumn in my garden one night. He was robbing me, raping me, rooting from my root and raiding my arugula, and ripping up the rampion, my champion, my favorite. I should have laid a spell on him right there. Could have turned him into stone, or a dog, or a chair, or a snake. But I let him have the rampion. I'd lots to spare. In return, however, I said, fair is fair. You can let me have the baby that your wife will bear. And we'll call it square.
I had a brother?
No, but you had a sister.
But the witch refused to tell him any more of his sister, not even that her name was Rapunzel. She went on.
I thought I had been more than reasonable, and we all might live happily ever after. But how was I to know what your father had also hidden in his pocket? You see, when I inherited that garden, my mother warned me I would be punished if ever I were to lose any of the beans.
Beans?
The special beans! I let him go. I didn't know he'd stolen my beans. I was watching him crawl back over the wall, and then bang, crash, and the lightning flash, and... well, that's another story. Never mind. Anyway, at last the big day came, and I made my claim. Oh, don't take away the baby. They shrieked and screeched for a day, and a hitter was to never be reached. And your father cried, and your mother died. Oh, and for extra measure, I admit it was a pleasure. I said, sorry, I'm still not mollified. And I laid a little spell on them. You too, son. That your family tree would always be a barren one.
What?
Now there's no more fuss and there's no more scene, and my garden thrives. You should see my nectarines, but I'm telling you the same. I tell kings and queens, don't ever, never, ever mess around with my greens, especially the beans. Listen, chap, lead Milky White to market. Fetch the best price you can. Take no less than £5. Are you listening to me?
Yes.
Now, how much are you to ask?
No more than £5.
Less than 5. Jack, 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 get in a sack. The house is getting colder. This is not a time
explained how the baker might lift the spell.
You wish to have the curse reversed? Need a certain potion first. Go to the wood and bring me back 1, the cow as white as milk. 2, the cape as red as blood. 3, the hair as yellow as corn. 4, the slipper as pure as gold. Bring me these before the chime of midnight in 3 days' time, and you shall have, I guarantee, a child as perfect as child can be.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Go to the wood!
Ladies, our carriage waits. Now we go to the festival. The festival? Darling, those nails, darling, those clothes. The lentils are one thing, but darling, with those, you'd make us a fool of the festival. And more to find the prince.
The carriage is waiting.
We must be gone. Good night, Father.
Look what I found in Father's hunting jacket.
6 beans.
I wonder if they're
They're 6 beans. We'll take them with us.
No, you are not coming.
I know you are fearful of the woods at night.
The spell is on my house. Only I can lift the spell.
No,
The spell
no,
is
the
on
spell
my
is on
house.
our house. We must
No,
lift the
you are
spell
not to
together.
come,
The
and
spell
that
is
is
on our
final.
house.
Now, what am I to return with?
You mean you don't remember? The cow is white as milk, the cape is red as blood, the hair is yellow as corn, the slipper is pure as gold.
The cow is white as milk, the cape is red as blood.
And
the
so
hair
the
is
baker
yellow as corn, the
reluctantly
slipper
set
is
off
pure
to meet
as
the
gold.
enchantress's demands. As for Cinderella,
The cow is white as milk, the cape is red as blood, the hair is yellow as corn. The slipper is pure as gold, the cow, the cape, the slipper is pure as gold. Into the woods it's time to go, it may be all in vain, I know. Into the woods, but even so I have to take the journey. Into the woods, the path is straight, I know it well, but who can tell? Into the woods to lift the spell.
Into the woods to fetch the things.
To make the potion. Into the woods without regret, the choice is made, the task is set. Into the woods but not forgetting why you're on the journey. Into the woods to get our wish, I don't care how the time is now. Into the woods. Into the woods to get the money. Into the woods to lift the spell. To make the potion.
The way is clear, the light is good. I have no fear, nor no one should. The woods are just trees, the trees are just wood. No need to be afraid there.
There's something in the glade there.
Into the woods without delay, but careful not to lose the way. Into the woods, who knows what may be lurking on the journey. Into the woods to get the thing that makes it worth the journeying. Into the woods to see the king,
Sell the cow. To make the potion.
to see, to sell, to get, to bring, to make, to lift, to go to the festival. Into the woods, into the woods, into the woods and out of the woods, and home before dark.
Wow, thank you for a wonderful performance. Let's give them another round of applause. Be sure to see the full production this month if you have the chance. Governor Walker, would you be so kind to join me back on stage? Thank you. And now I'm honored to introduce the Humanities Awards. These awards recognize Alaskans who have worked to connect people and strengthen communities throughout Alaska, whose efforts have contributed to telling the stories of our past, present, and future, and who've helped to build a more culturally diverse, economically vibrant, and equitable Alaska, where people are engaged, informed, and connected. Our first award is given in the category of education and is awarded to the Alaska Highway Project team. Let's give them a round of applause. The story of the African American soldiers who helped to build the Alaska Highway is a story that all Alaskans should know. It's our own hidden figure story. The project's dedicated volunteers worked tirelessly to gain recognition for the soldiers whose work resulted in the construction of the only road connecting Alaska to the lower 48, and ultimately helped to lead the desegregation of the United States military. Please join me in congratulating the Alaska Highway Project team, represented tonight by team members Jean Pollard, Shayla Dobson, Andrew Knoll, and Jim Dalt. Please join me on stage.
Governor Walker, First Lady, and Lieutenant Governor, and distinguished guests, let me tell you a little history. In the early evening of October 25th, 1942, two soldiers met face to face in the northern wilderness with blades of steel. It was a pivotal moment in World War II. Two mortal blows were struck that day. The first blow was struck against the Axis powers, whose aggression had been rampaging across the world. The second blow was no less profound and far-reaching, for it was a mortal blow against racism. You see, the two soldiers were engineers of the same U.S. Army, and their blades of steel were bulldozers. A white engineer of the 18th Regiment, Private Alfred Jalufka, was pushing north, as a black engineer of the 97th Regiment, Corporal Refined Sims, was pushing south. Their shared mission was to link up the two sections of the 1,650-mile Alcan Highway. On that October evening, their bulldozers met. At the time of its construction, the Alcan Highway was called the eighth wonder of the world. It took only 8.5 months to complete. Of the 11,000 American soldiers that helped build the highway, nearly 5,000 were black. We of the Alaska Highway Project seek to honor those forgotten soldiers who served their country in Alaska. Because of their efforts on the highway, President Truman desegregated the military in 1948. And so, in the depths of World War II, the Alcan Highway was truly the first road to civil rights.
Also, we supported the passing of Senate Bill 46, an act establishing October 25th of each year as African American soldiers' contribution to building the Alaska Highway Day. The Alaska Highway team, led by Pam Orm and Katie Ringsmith, has crafted an Alcan Highway history for the Alaska Studies curriculum to be used across the state.
To augment this Alaska Studies curriculum, we're planning a historical monument at a memorial site in an Anchorage park. It is for students and visitors alike. It will feature a bronze sculpture of a black engineer, a surveyor, titled View from the Mountaintop.
We also plan to include a permanent exhibit to the black soldiers who built the Alaska Highway in the National Museum of African American History and Culture at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. Thanks to the soldiers, Sergeant Beverly and Private Larkins, who testified in support of Senate Bill 46, Senator Wilson, Gary Gapp, whom I call 8 times a day, Representative Tarr, and to all of the legislators who passed this bill, and of course Governor Walker, who signed it into law. We thank you, and especially we thank Leah Morgan because she brought this story to light. Now, on behalf of all the soldiers who helped to build the Alaska Highway, this is our way, the Alaska Highway Project team, that we want to honor them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. The next award is given in the category of leadership and is awarded to Susan Anderson of Anchorage. Susan, who is of Tlingit heritage and original CIRI enrollee, has been the president and CEO of the CIRI Foundation for 18 years. She has dedicated her life to work to helping people change their lives through education and cultural knowledge. She is a culture warrior, not only for CIRI, but for all Indigenous people. Please join me in congratulating Susan Anderson.
Ganashish. Anet Kursang Ganashish et Tekwani. Noble people of this land, thank you for allowing me to speak. Governor Walker, Mrs. Walker, Lieutenant Governor Malat and Mrs. Malat, and all of the guests here this evening, and especially to the Humanities Forum and the Arts Council. As mentioned, my name is Susan Anderson. I am the great-granddaughter of Eva Kunk and George Blake, granddaughter of Charlotte Blake and Henry E. Anderson Sr., and daughter of Nancy Parker Anderson and Henry E. Anderson Jr. I am deeply honored and a bit overwhelmed by this award. I looked at the long list of past recipients on the website and was almost speechless. It's a good thing that I'm Tlingit, because I still have a few and I have a mic. I continue on my journey to what matters in life as I try and speak some of the language of my family, and I ask for your patience as I try in honor of them and my ancestors. Atli means mother in Tlingit, and when I think of mother, I think of a family, and when I think of family, I think of siblings and aunties and uncles and grandparents and cousins and people we adopt into our family. I also think of my dad that didn't get to experience a very long time before his mom died, and his father couldn't take care of him and his siblings, so they were placed in a children's home. And my story is their story. My past is similar to many people's in this room, and in Alaska, my past and their past informs our state's present and our future. The work of the Alaska Humanities Forum, bringing people together to think critically and creatively, to find common ground and to talk across differences, beliefs, and backgrounds about the things that matter, is even more important today with the challenges that we face. We face things that we thought were in the past. The challenges of living in a time, my dad's generation, when there were signs that said no natives, no dogs, shaped my family members. My dad talked about having his mouth washed out with soap when he was a child with the little language that he did know. So obviously he couldn't pass that on to my sister and to me. And he really didn't talk about his past very much because it was really hard, and it was in the past. Our mom, the German-Irish lady who he fell in love with, she's the one that told us mostly about our native family information that she knew. She wanted us to be proud of who we were. And even today, we're still learning things. My cousin David is here, and we were recently, like last night, going through paperwork and photos and learning more interesting details about our family. My parents were the first ones in their family to pursue higher education. My mom was genius bright, and she won a scholarship to go to school. And my dad had the GI Bill, and he was working right up here in the territorial legislature as a janitor, and his friends were going off to school down in Bellingham, Washington. And he thought, there are parties and girls. How bad could it be? I'm going too. And that's where he met my mom. And he thought she was pretty cute. And he thought she was a little older than she was. She was only 18, but she had been to an exchange program in Germany right after the war. So one thing led to another, and they graduated, they got married, and I showed up. So I still have the ticket, my first airplane ride back to Alaska when I was about a year old. And I'm thinking, do you think Alaska Airlines would give me the mileage for that with interest? Maybe not. But it's connecting the stories of my relatives, distant and recent, that lead me to my work with my people as the president and CEO of the Surrey Foundation, or as I like to say, the fairy godmother of the foundation. And in addition to my relatives, I have a very, very wonderful husband right here, Kevin Tripp, who says I subdued him with the halibut stick and brought him home to Alaska. The Surrey Foundation focuses on education, culture, and heritage, and our people take those and weave them together, much like a beautiful chill cap blanket, if you will. And when I think of villages and organizations in the Surrey region and all of Alaska, really, I tend to think of us as all one big, extended, happy family, mostly happy. Sometimes we poke fun at each other and squabble, as siblings will do. But really, in the end, we all want what's best for our people, as families do. The Surrey Foundation, as one of the nonprofit siblings, just celebrated its 35 years of assisting original enrollees and their lineal descendants through scholarships, as well as many Alaskans, many Alaskans, through the education and heritage organizational project grants that we do. My chairman is here, Jeff Gonneson, and he knows that I was one of the first recipients of the Scholarship Foundation, so don't do that math. There are others here in the room as well. Raina, who used to work at the White House, and Raven, who's working right up here on the hill, who are foundation recipients as well. And they're really the reason why I do what I do. It's my great honor to serve our people with the work that we do at the foundation, as well as I have an opportunity to serve our state and Alaskans in other capacities. And I think of all Alaskans as my extended family, as I mentioned, and I work in collaboration with so many others to try and weave the threads to help communities find their voice, strengthen themselves, which in turn helps to improve Alaska's social, economic, and civic life. Education, culture, and mentoring others to succeed are my passion. And I'm full of gratitude to be recognized with this award for just playing a small part in making Alaska a little bit better for us all. Ganeshish.
Congratulations, Susan. Our third award is given in the category of community, and the awardee is Arctic Entries. Storytelling has long fostered connections among people and strengthened communities, here in Alaska and beyond. Arctic Entry's contribution to this enduring legacy has been the invitation to participate in this fundamentally human process on a welcoming and inclusive community stage, 7 stories at a time. And its impact has been profound. Please join me in congratulating Arctic Entries, and representing the whole team tonight to come up on stage, we have Aaron Forbes and Matt Rafferty.
Thank you. We are honored and humbled to be receiving this award. But really, we just provide a space, an environment. The real recognition goes to our storytellers, the men and women, and occasionally the kids, who brave the stage and the bright lights and the microphone and come up and bring our community a little closer together just by sharing a piece of themselves.
Yeah, and since we've been doing this, 526 different people have come up and shared their stories. And these are 7-minute stories told live without notes, and we are constantly and continually amazed at what people put into these, the vulnerability, the courage they show, the humor, the reflections that they do. It's a pretty awesome experience, and what we love most is just being able to meet all these people and hear all these stories. And they're the real recipients of this award, and so we'd like to honor them as well.
Every day we're in awe of this momentum, this revival around the most ancient of things, which is storytelling. We live in a digital age, all communication is digital, and the thirst for this personal connection is pulsing through us. And we feel at Arctic Entry so fortunate to have tapped in at this time to this energy, this passion to hear others.
Yeah, and we know that there's some storytellers in the room, and we feel like if you have told a story at Arctic Entries, we would love you to just stand up. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
And what about the Mud Rooms, the local storytelling production? There we go.
Right
Yeah, I knew you'd do it.
We've also been inspired by seeing how this storytelling has caught a fire and spread throughout the state. There are now shows that are happening in Juneau with the Mud Rooms. You guys probably been to that. It's happening in Seward and Kenai and Homer.
And Healy, Talkeetna, Fairbanks, and Nome.
And you know, we're the 2 people that got to come up here and take the award, but we wanted to thank our storyboard members. Some are in the audience right now. We have Emily Fehrenbacher and Dave Onafriedchuk.
Sierra Mickens, Tim Pachalik, and Katie Lawrence.
Yeah, we had 3 that couldn't make it. We want to thank Eva Gardner and Rosie Robards and Will Keppen.
And to our founders who very sadly left the state, James Keck and Tara Lloyd.
And there have been dozens of other volunteers and other storyboard members, and it's been 9 years, so we've had a whole community of people that have helped put on the event.
It truly is a community effort. We're deeply indebted to Anchorage and all the people who have traveled to be part of our event. And as full of gratitude and overwhelmed as we are to receive this award, it has made all the more special to us to receive it from one of our previous and most distinguished storytellers, Governor Bill Walker.
Yeah.
Back in 2015, he shared a story of some teenage shenanigans and a broken down car. It is on the internet, and I highly recommend
it. We've been inspired by what we've heard tonight. There are so many great stories here in this room. And so if you haven't told the story yet, we would love to invite you to come to our stage. We're always recruiting. But no, it's been super inspiring to hear everything that's happening around the state, and we would love for you guys to take part.
So again, we thank the governor and the Alaska Humanities Forum, everyone who has given us this incredible honor and recognition, and of course to our storytellers. And we do have one token of gratitude for our gem of a governor.
He's been handing out awards all night, and so we wanted to hand him an Arctic Entries hoodie.
Congratulations. And finally, this year, we are so pleased to present a Lifetime Achievement in the Humanities Award to Mr. Gary Holthouse. For over 60 years, Gary has strengthened communities through his work forging connections between people across race, class, and cultural divides. As a poet, nonfiction author, educator, advocate for the environment and social justice issues, and as Alaska's first director of bilingual education, and Alaska Humanities Forum's first executive director, and most recently, his service as minister in the Anchorage Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Gary has built bridges between cultures and across things that divide. We have a short film we'd like you to see.
I think I learned to see beauty from a little Episcopal priest in Cambridge, Massachusetts, years and years ago. He invited me to see some of his slides of wildflowers one evening, and we had assumed that he'd been out in the wilderness taking pictures of wildflowers. They were all from a pretty degraded local community, and they grew up in the cracks in the sidewalk, in the dirt behind the dumpster. I think that's when it first dawned on me that somehow or other beauty is really essential to our lives. There is something about life itself that is sacred and ought not be diminished. I'm one who believes that we measure our progress and the extent of the quality of our lives through humans. So I am a humanist because I want to support the human enterprise. What we require is some sense that there are places we can take a stand and make a difference and do something useful. If you're interested in the kind of issues I'm interested in, if you're interested in the social justice issues, you really have to be willing to go where people are struggling, to put yourself in the place of others who are having a hard time. And so we are grateful for this time together, for one another, and for every possible companion this world offers. We take it all, everyone and everything, into our hearts and minds, and commit ourselves to the renewal and the regeneration of the lives of all about us, near and far, animate and inanimate. Yes, so be it.
Please join me in welcoming Gary Holthouse to accept the Lifetime Achievement in the Humanities Award. Gary.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. I guess I stand here this evening not so much with a sense of accomplishment or achievement, but most of all, by far, a deep sense of gratitude. Gratitude, first of all, for Alaska, which has meant so much to me. If I have helped in any small way to make it valuable for you too, then that would be enough. But I'm also grateful to people who've worked with me in humanities projects in small towns and big cities all across the state of Alaska and beyond. There are 3 or 4, maybe 5 folks that I remember from the very first day I started to work for the Alaska Humanities Forum who were here this evening. That's a long time to be working on the same sorts of issues. And that kind of loyalty strikes me deeply too. Because that's loyalty to the greater cause of our human enterprise here on Earth. And then finally, I'm trying to keep this to 3 minutes. I warned people earlier today that I had misread the directions for what we were supposed to do tonight. And so instead of having a 3 to 5 minute talk, I had a 35-minute talk. And I also warned them that I looked it over again and decided I didn't really want to cut it. On the other hand, it's getting late. So as an act of mercy, I'll get back to my 3 minutes and quit. The other thing I'd like to express my gratitude for is simply the great human tradition of the humanities. They offer us so many avenues for considering who we are and what we might become and how we might behave to create a better world. And to have been able to find work for 50 years in such an enterprise was certainly a privilege. So thanks to you all, and thanks for this wonderful evening, and for this recognition, which is extravagant, to put it mildly. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, and congratulations again. Before we close this evening, I want to give a few thanks. Nancy DeCherney and Rachel Utzler and the staff and the volunteers of the Juneau Arts and Humanities Council, we're so grateful for your support. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, a big thanks again to the Alaska State Council and the Arts Board of Directors and the Alaska Humanities Forum Board of Directors for all of your support and time you put into these incredible organizations. I want to thank Josh Corbett, who was the filmmaker for the 2 films that you saw this evening. And this concludes the 2008 awards. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope that you'll stay for a short dessert and coffee reception for our awardees. And awardees, please, before you go to the reception, join us on stage for some pictures and award pictures with the governor. Thank you again for coming. It's been a wonderful night. Have a wonderful night.